Well, here we all are for the last time of asking. My last Diocesan Synod, and the last for some of you too, if you're not standing to serve again for another term. Thank you for all that you've done, what you contribute to the ways of the life of the Church. And tonight, thank you especially for your contributions to the Diocesan Synod. Thank you to Lydia, who's chairing this evening's meeting, who will be moving to Exeter Diocese. Oh, boo. I can't really say how much I'll miss her because I'll miss you all. But Lydia, thank you from the Diocese of Salisbury. And when the time comes in October, go well and God bless. I had hoped that by the time of my leaving at the end of next week, we would have been free of restrictions because of COVID-19 and able to meet in person. I also hoped that it would be at a sensible staging post in response to the impact of the pandemic, so that the way ahead would be clearer, but it is not. As the chairman of the Diocesan Board of Finance, Nigel Salisbury, says in his covering letter to the annual report and accounts, this has been an extraordinarily difficult year. None of us know when or how we will come out of this pandemic. Nationally, the Church Commissioners have provided so far £35 million sustainability funding, which is part of their £300 million made available by them to the Archbishop's Council for the National Church over a 3-year period. The cathedral has been helped, but as a diocese, we're not in the greatest need compared to others. And only now are we engaging with the commissioners asking for support. We've put in place a financial framework with which to work to a balanced budget in 4 years. We have a mission and pastoral plan to help us reimagine mission and ministry and set strategic aims. Precisely what these will be depends a great deal on the response to the generous giving campaign in September. We know that the financial impact of COVID has been uneven. Some people and some parishes have been hit very hard. Individually, as households, those of us on fixed incomes are better off because we've not had the same spending opportunities. Of course, overall, finance is a big challenge, but it helps to break it down into small portions. The Archdeacon of Dorset, who's been leading on the giving campaign, pointed out that if on average the increase in giving each week is £2 per person, the price of a cup of coffee, we would raise sufficient for ministry costs, and parishes would also have generated significant additional income for local purposes. Finance, you know this better than I do, but finance is a matter of faith. We give because we believe the gospel of Jesus Christ matters as proclaimed in the mission and ministry of the church. We've seen locally through the pandemic how churches have adapted and served their communities. From my perspective, it's been very impressive and very important in the communities where we serve. I was really struck by Pope Francis when he said that we'll get through the pandemic by caring for one another, love your neighbour, in other words. He went on to say that we will address the issues of climate change through contemplation, by really noticing the gift and beauty of creation. We can't go on abusing and consuming as if it was all for me. Prayer and contemplation are what will change our relationship with God, one another, and all creation. Beliefs and values really matter. I think that's so important at the moment where the political debate seems so value-free in some ways. Beliefs and values really matter. They undergird us as individuals and society. We need to invest in them in the life of the church, and those of us who can will need to increase our giving generously. If the giving campaign is successful, you'll have the potential for a creative reimagining of ministry rooted in the parishes, chaplaincies and projects and schools of the diocese. If it's less successful, well, God will still be God and you will still have the potential for a creative reimagining of ministry. The church will adapt to survive, but there will be a difficult and painful reorganisation with cuts that will make it harder to retain our commitment to a Christian presence in every community. And the impact will be uneven, and the danger is that the poorest will be hardest hit. Through our common fund and fairer share, we can do much better than that, brothers and sisters. I'm sorry not to see you through it, but I am confident in God and I'm confident in you, and I pray that you will go well, all will go well with you. Financial framework, mission and pastoral plan, generous giving campaign, love, prayer and contemplation. Let's do it and ask God to bless us on the way. There's an awful lot for me to give thanks for tonight. When we introduced Renewing Hope, Pray, Serve, Grow, we did a lot of work on the meaning of hope, which is not the same as optimism. For Christians, hope is not about whether things go well or not. It's not about whether the glass is half full or half empty. Christian hope is rooted in the life, death, and resurrection of Christ. It's on the cross that we see our hope most clearly, in the God who loves us, made us, and sustains us. On Tuesday last week, I spent most of the day in Dorset. I visited St Edward's School in Poole, the only joint Roman Catholic Church of England school in the diocese. Students told me it had been a difficult year for them as well. And they told me how well the school had done in supporting them and their online learning. I blessed a peace garden and planted a tranquility rose. The site manager told me to be careful of the thorns. Hope is about how we handle the thorns and face the difficulties. In my meetings with those to be ordained next weekend, a common theme was that they have learned most when facing the challenges and difficulties of ministry and life. My day in Dorset continued at the Pilsdon community and Hillfield Friary. They are beautiful, but not smooth places. Talking outside with the core community at Pilsdon, our conversation kept being interrupted by people who wanted to tell their stories, people with difficult lives, who were being given the space and support for a big reality check so as to face the difficulties they have encountered. Hillfield has changed so much since first I encountered it 45 years ago. It's a broader, more varied community of friars, families, students, and still a few who are there because they needed a bit of looking after and stayed, making their own contribution to that community. Hillfield has reorganised itself around the care of God's creation, and through it, the Society of St. Francis is being renewed. The values of the community have not changed. Their Christian spirit, they still live in the Christian spirit of St. Francis, but the community is completely different. They've been renewed in the way of Jesus Christ. On the way home, we stopped in Sherborne to visit Margaret Morrissey, a member of Bishop's Council and this Synod from Dorchester, from St Mary's. The stroke on Ascension Day was a huge blow for her and for her husband, Patrick. She is determined and is making progress slowly. It's tough, but she was full of hope. Pilsdon, Hillfield, Margaret, human, fallible, and hopeful, as was St Edward's School, where people knew about renewing hope, even when there are thorns. This diocese has wonderful partnerships with Latvia, Evra, and an embryonic rural church link with the Danish Diocese of Haderslev. The link with the Sudans is one of the standouts of the Diocese of Salisbury. It's been a huge blessing, and it has been exceptionally difficult. They are countries in which people do not live at peace with one another. Church is one of the very few signs of hope. The relationship with us carries some of the strains of the worldwide church and Anglican communion. As a diocese, we've worked hard to keep faith and honour God in sustaining our partnership. So it was a joy to receive warm greetings in advance of my retirement from both primates, Archbishops Ezekiel Kondo and Archbishop Justin Bardi, assuring me that the partnership continues in good health, strong faith, and renewed hope. It's been wonderful on recent Sundays to be physically back in churches. I cannot visit everyone before I leave, so I've been going to representative places to say goodbye and to ask God bless. A hospital, a prison, school, several parish churches, for good ordinary, for confirmations, and the blessing of the beautiful renewal of St. Thomas Salisbury, and the ordinations in the cathedral this coming weekend. Congratulations to the cathedral for their Gold Eco Cathedral Award, the first cathedral in the country to do so, and the third Gold Award in the Diocese of Salisbury after Hillfield and Beminster. Thank you to the diocese for your support and encouragement of me as the lead bishop on the environment, and for the engagement with the fifth mark of mission. We've got 126 churches registered with Eco Church, the highest number of any in the diocese. You've done well, and we're all going to have to do a lot more to sustain the environment and limit climate change in God's wonderful creation. Look, let's face this, 126 is fantastic, and it is the best in the Church of England, but it's only 126. How many churches are there in the diocese? I think it's about 560. So there's quite a lot more still to do to get this engagement right. And we should be doing this for itself alone. But as it happens, it's also an evangelical imperative. Young people generally think the church has got it wrong about matters of gender and sexuality. That's one reason why serious and careful engagement with the Living in Love and Faith project matters beyond itself. Young people know the danger of the environment and climate breakdown, and they see faith as a resource to tackle it. The Young Christian Climate Network relay is coming from the G7 in Cornwall to COP26 in Glasgow, and it'll be coming through the diocese between the 19th and the 22nd of July, stopping in Trowbridge, West Lavington, Shrewton and Salisbury. We hope there'll be opportunities for engagement. This fifth mark of mission is a way of engaging youngsters in the way of Jesus Christ. We won't be able to gather in the cathedral for a big farewell as my final service on the 3rd of July, when I'll hand over the care and oversight of the diocese to Bishop Karen. But as it's going to be online, I can say to everyone that you will all be very welcome, and you won't even have to travel to be there. Helen and I have received hundreds of letters and cards wishing us well. We've appreciated them very much indeed, and I'm sorry that we've not answered them all, but thank you. We're going to be at South Canonry through into August as we clear up and get ready to move to Brighton, where 2 of our children and their families live. The other 2 are in South London, so we hope that our new home will be a good base for the whole family. Salisbury, you know, this is a great diocese, and the 78th bishop has found it a joy to be here. Thank you for this shared life and work in Christ. Our hope has been renewed nearly every day. Every blessing on all that lies ahead. And now we'd better get down to do the business of the evening. Thank you.